Honorable Shri Piyush Goyal, the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Textiles, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution of the Government of India, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very warm welcome again to Shri Piyush Goyal to this very important CII Global Economic Policy Summit 2021 Day 2. And this particular session is something that we were looking forward to, a session which is on enhancing global footprint, India's big opportunity. Honorable Minister, we are indeed most honored, delighted and pleased that you have been able to join us for this special session. A year and a half back, in March of last year, towards the end of March last year, you started meeting us virtually. And you met us almost every week and reviewed, helped, partnered, and encouraged industry to work on several opportunities that were coming up in that crisis, and also to work at the crisis to see to it how we can navigate through it. So we didn't sort of miss you during those COVID times. We met you every day almost. We met you every time. You were always there, and you always reached out, and you always responded when we reached out to you. Therefore, we are indeed more pleased that today we have been able to bring you to a physical event of CII, one of the first large physical events of CII. You see about 150 odd people in this room, Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, plus our industry. And we have 517 people, as you can see, Mr. Minister, approximately 517 people, rather exactly 517 people also logged in through our Hive platform, where we had invited and requested them. So it's great to be back physically, great to be back, and I hope, and we all hope, that this is going to be the new normal, where we get back to meeting physically. So thank you very much for this opportunity. With that also, I must say, Mr. Minister, that growth is also back. And we see growth back, Indian economy recovering much faster than what we had expected. We scripted a very sharp rebound after being ravaged in the first and the second wave. But this upturn finds a resonance, if one can say, in the performance of our external sector, especially. Much of it you are responsible for, Mr. Minister, particularly in terms of exports and foreign direct investments. And the stellar performance in the export front really indicates a very strong significance of our how we have really been able to work on the global supply chain. And this reiterates our perception that our country, India, would gain global economic rebound. And I must also say that we have seen a phenomenal performance also by our services, such as professional and management and consulting services, so on and so forth. And therefore, we have seen a very, very strong recovery in the recent months. In fact, India is successfully pursuing a policy, also, if I can say, of attracting foreign investment in sectors where global investors are active to take advantage of the restructuring of the supply chains, which is on, especially taking place in the when we see China's presence in the global trade sort of moderating. Mr. Minister, sir, we have heard you earlier saying that amidst every crisis lies a great opportunity. Today we are confident, having worked with you very closely and your government, that we from the industry and CII pretty much confident that this partnership that we see of leveraging the hard times to trigger a virtuous cycle of trade, investment, and growth. And under your leadership, I would also like to say, with the presence of a very strong international community in this on the call and also present, we are seeing a very most active, if I can say, foreign trade policy with 7 FTAs under various stages of negotiations. You have mentioned that FTA and UAE, the FTA with UAE will see conclusions very soon, maybe in the next 60 or 100 days or so. With Australia, we are heading towards an interim agreement. With UK, there are also already talks of early harvest, Same with UAE and also larger one with the GCC countries, of course. And then we have ones which we would see with Canada, Israel, and also finally, of course, the big one, EU. So these are very, very extremely important issues for the Indian industry point of view to explore greater market access in countries. And you've also started reviewing, and we are so encouraged by that, reviewing certain agreements like Japan, Korea, which is much, much needed. In the earlier times, Honorable Minister, FTAs, there have been situations where the earlier FTAs that I just referred to, where utilization by Indian industry has been lower than in, lower in the industries in those countries. And therefore, we find that India did not really much gain from some of those FTAs. We have talked to you many times about it, but we appreciate that you are following today a very strong consultative model between the Indian industry and yourself and your ministry, your government, and we are committed to provide all necessary inputs which would strengthen the hands of our negotiators. You have also said that for getting access, we must also be able to give and be ready to give access within. And this is a very important message that you have given to us at the Indian industry, and we believe our members, our industry are ready for it. We are working on it. We anticipate a very, very exciting journey ahead, and we assure you, Honorable Minister, that from the Indian industry, we are committed to partnering with you, your government, your ministry, to enhance India's global footprint and rebuild India. We are happy that you have come to us many, many times on the virtual mode. We'll keep dragging you into this physical mode as we go on. Please do not feel that you are coming to CII a little too much, because we will keep coming to you over and over again with requests. With that, I'll request Mr. Rajesh Shriram, our past president, as you know, of CII, to really moderate this session with the Honorable Minister.
Honorable Shri Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Textile, Consumer Affairs, and Food and Public Distribution, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General of CII, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to have Minister Piyush Goyal with us today at the CII Global Economic Policy Summit 2021, and his physical presence here is indeed a great privilege. Minister, on the trade front, we are already witnessing a stellar performance with 58% of the ambitious $400 billion merchandise export target for financial year 22 already being met in the first 7 months of this fiscal. FDI too is on the fast track this year. Post the pandemic, there are very positive signs of a rebound in the global economy. The 2 consecutive years of above trend growth in 2021 and 2022 will likely take the level of output much above the pre-COVID trajectory. Another positive is that the world is flush with liquidity because of the stimulus packages instituted by larger economies. On the other hand, we are also seeing an interesting convergence of twin episodes of disruption: the dislocation caused by the pandemic, together with the geopolitics-driven disruptions in global trade and investment flows. These have resulted in the relocation of global value chains. Companies are looking at strategies and options to de-risk their manufacturing operations and diversify their supply chains. India attracts attention as a trustworthy and reliable business partner for the world today. We crossed the milestone of $80 billion FDI in the year 2021, and the same should be possible in the current year too. Domestic investments too are poised to take off. A recent CII poll of more than 150 CEOs showed that an overwhelming 68% of the respondents expect to see their annual capital expenditure rise above rupees 500 crores in the next 2 years. With these developments, India has a unique opportunity to position itself in the overarching dynamics, become one of the key nodes of the global value chain, and enhance the global footprint. The government has introduced many reforms with a stress on aligning with global value chains and improving competitiveness. The simplification of business regulations, the single window clearance scheme, the production-linked incentive scheme, etc., are major steps today. The government has also undertaken talks on multiple free trade agreements and will open many more opportunities to Indian industry. We hope that more such agreements with our major markets will be taken up soon. Chandraji just talked about that. At this maiden edition of the CII Global Economic Policy Summit, we have been deliberating upon the theme Rebuilding Economies. In this session, we will hear the Honorable Minister share his thoughts on the opportunities for deepening India's global footprint and how Indian industry can work with the government for this. Before I end, I just want to mention that on the basis of the back-of-the-envelope calculations, it would appear that we can expect the size of the Indian economy to double every 9 years if we grow at 8% consistently. In other words, by the time we celebrate India at 100 years, we would be around a US $24 billion economy. For a population of probably 2 billion at that time, we would therefore be a country with a per capita income of approximately 12,000 US dollars. Exciting as that may be, probably this should not satisfy our dreams, and we must aim to achieve a higher standard of living for our citizens. And that can happen if we follow a non-linear growth model, which is significantly driven by a much higher share of global trade, resulting from being deeply entrenched in the global value chain. I thought I would leave these aspirations for us to reflect on. Knowing the Minister, I am sure he would set our targets even higher and, with his action-oriented approach, ensure that we are firmly on a roadmap for achieving such a dream. Thank you, Minister, once again for joining us today, and we keenly look forward to hearing you and get your observations for the growth of the Indian economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shriram, and it's now an honor and pleasure to invite our Honorable Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal, to give his special remarks. We'll follow that up with a few Q&A.
Thank you very much, Mr. Banerjee. Thank you very much, Ajay-ji. Excellencies, distinguished captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen. I was just going through this program, and at the outset, I must say it's an absolutely outstanding array of subjects and distinguished speakers that you have put together. My compliments to CII and the entire team for putting together such a wonderful event covering a span of subjects related to global businesses, the economy, the Indian mood, the post-pandemic recovery, and the fact that you've chosen a mix of virtual and hybrid. And I can see in the room you've maintained hybrid protocol better than most of us do nowadays. I would really like to compliment the entire team at CII for leading from the front as India comes out of COVID and looks for very, very aggressive targets going forward, very, very bold reforms, and engaging with the world in a much bigger way than ever before. In fact, I was just telling Mr. Banerjee that I think you'll have to excuse me for some programs now, because I think your audience will start hating me. There's an overdose of Piyush Goyal in CII programs probably. With you, Ajay-ji, I have to be careful. Sometimes I normally talk pretty much extempore. And I think looking at you, I look at as if I'm talking in my drawing room. So sometimes I do go overboard. So I do hope any of what I say is taken in the spirit in which it is mentioned in any of your engagements. But truly delighted to be a part of this physical event meeting all of you. I see so many friends and known persons here in this room today, and I see a lot of my friends also who have joined us on video conference. A very, very warm welcome to all of you, all the friends from the media who have joined us. And the subject you have chosen for today's engagement is truly very opportune. The big opportunity for our global footprint to expand. Of course, my apologies that you had to wait for some time before I could join in. There was some very pressing work that kept me, delayed me, and I sincerely wish to apologize for this delay. You're very right. It is a big opportunity. It's an opportunity probably India has never seen before. It's somewhat very fortuitous that as we get out of COVID, and despite some concerns and certainly our need to maintain COVID protocol, remain masked up, maintain social distancing, our personal hygiene, ensure that all of the people who are with us in our ecosystem are vaccinated. While we are all duty bound to do all of that, I think this is the time when India can rise to take global leadership positions in various ways, some of which I would like to discuss with you today. COVID, of course, was a once-in-a-century pandemic. It has changed the way we live, changed the way we do business, truly transformed our lives. But there are many learnings and many opportunities that have come out of this COVID period, which will help us in this journey as we are looking to play a bigger role in the Committee of Nations. It can't anymore be business as usual. We'll really have to look at a new way of doing things. And as they say, it is during a crisis we must work proactively to capitalize every opportunity. And I think under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, day in and day out, both government, industry, and all the stakeholders in this ecosystem have been putting in their best foot forward to transform the way we work, the way we do business. And I can read out a number of very, very important initiatives initiated by the government in the last 18-20 months. But simultaneously, there are equally that many initiatives rolled out by the industry, which makes every Indian proud. A simple thing like our testing facilities for COVID-19, the manufacturing of masks, of personal protective equipment, rapid testing kits or testing equipment, vaccines, and the list will be endless when we look at the game-changing work that all of you have done, which makes each and every Indian full of pride and full of confidence for the future. I mean, the world's first DNA vaccine coming out of India, the world's first nasal vaccine. We'll soon have a RNA vaccine, which will match the best in the world. In fact, be better than the best in the world. We won't need minus 60, 70 degrees temperature to store that vaccine. It can be done up to, I think, between 2 and 10 degrees minus. Look at the huge impact it will have on the logistics chain and the ability to deliver that worldwide at affordable prices, in a very cost-competitive manner. The Honorable Prime Minister has at the G20, where India clearly took a leadership role, announced that we will be making 5 billion vaccines. 500 crore vaccine doses will be manufactured in India in the next year. India will take a leadership role in saving the rest of the world. We will provide and democratize the availability of vaccines. We all talk about the fact that nobody is safe until everybody is safe. But the contribution that India is proposing to make in the next few months completely overrides the contribution of any other country or any other region when it comes to truly making vaccines available for every nook and corner of the globe, particularly the less developed countries and the developing nations. And I'm saying all this because this has been done by all of you. I mean, truly, Indian industry, in a variety of ways, can take a bow today for all that you have done in the last 18 months. The rebounds of the economy, the very strict lockdown, which was necessary to prepare the nation for this COVID-19 and all the damaging effects that it brought along with it. But the way Indian industry, our exporters, our service providers engaged with the world, even in these trying times, was a phenomenal message to the entire world that you can trust India as your trusted partner, as a resilient stakeholder, as somebody whom you can take into your global value chains when you are looking to make them more resilient, more sustainable. And I'm happy to share with you when Honorable Prime Minister mentioned this at the G20 summit, that India rebooted very quickly once we were aware of the COVID-19 pandemic and we went into probably one of the strictest lockdowns. We rebooted our processes and procedures so quickly, brought broadband connectivity to people's homes, gave all the requisite approvals and permissions literally in real-time basis online, so that India could meet all our international commitments, particularly in the IT and services space, where every second counts. And we are proud that we did not fail the world even for a single second, and all the international commitments made by India, particularly on the services front and largely also on merchandise trade, were fulfilled. And that's where India today is looked upon as a trusted and valuable partner when we look at global resilient supply chains. Ladies and gentlemen, India's global influence is increasing by leaps and bounds. It's our chance to capitalize on that opportunity. In the post-pandemic era, I would like to suggest that we should all emphasize on 3 mantras to enhance India's global footprint. Can you give me some water? One, we should look at shifting from just looking beyond cost. We have all been talking that we should, when we look at Atmanirbhar Bharat, when we look at an economy which is strong, when we look at our engagement across the world, we should look beyond cost. But I would like to propose that not only should we look beyond cost, but we should look at strengthening resilient ecosystems in our businesses, in our work, to prepare ourselves and our work for any such instances that may occur in the future. And therefore, resilient ecosystem is as valuable as looking beyond cost. Second, I think all of us can agree that innovation and sustainability are going to accelerate our integration in global value chains. And clearly, the world today is looking at India's contribution on both these scores. And why do I say that? And why do I dare to say that on innovation? Particularly when we always thought it's the developed countries which come up with innovative ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, today the world's second largest number of STEM graduates are Indians or persons of Indian origin. even a country, or I will not take any names, but the most powerful countries in the world today are concerned about the growing dominance of non-transparent and non-market economies, and therefore are looking to engage with India, because in their own ecosystem, they are not preparing as many STEM graduates as a country like India does. Nowhere close even. And therefore, in innovation also, India will have an increasingly global footprint, India and Indians. And on sustainability, you have all seen the powerful message that Honorable Prime Minister gave at COP26, the message of the Panchamrit, the 5-point plans that India has going forward towards achieving a net zero target by 2070. And for a developing country with a per capita income of about $2,000 today, to take such aggressive targets, such a huge ambitious goal, when we have our own development imperatives, when we need low-cost energy to provide for 1 billion plus people aspiring for a better quality of life, it truly is a very, very bold and ambitious target that Prime Minister Modi has set for himself and for our country. And the third point, ladies and gentlemen, is boosting the role of the private sector and engaging both the government and private sector to work possibly through public-private partnerships, through greater engagement with the private sector and the government, but leaving the work of running businesses to business. It's not the government's job to keep expanding our footprint or our engagement into businesses. Our role should be more and more facilitating businesses. And Prime Minister Modi has, over the last 7 years, focused a lot on getting businesses to be run by business persons and government to act more as a facilitator. And we hope to be able to take that forward in a much bigger way. In fact, Honorable Prime Minister today morning, while addressing captains of industry and bankers, has given a very strong message which will boost the confidence both of the financial world and business and industry to invest in a much bigger way in India's future. And India's role in the world's future has been truly defined very well by the Honorable Prime Minister this morning at another event. In fact, in the last 20 years, ever since he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, since October 2001, and then since he became the Prime Minister on 26th May 2014, consistently for 20 years, the Prime Minister has made a focused effort to change the mindset of the people and businesses, to think global, to think big. I'm sure many of you are aware of his very famous mantras: minimum government, maximum governance, which I articulated earlier, and second, speed, skill, and scale, to reflect the mindset of an emerging global superpower. Both at the G20 and at COP26, we saw India's voice increasingly reflecting the voice of the less developed countries and the developing world. And therefore, our global stakes are going to increase, because we will also not only have to protect India's interests, but also serve in a leadership role to protect the interests of those countries who have been left behind in their urge or their aspirations for progress and a brighter future. I think India today has not only earned the trust of investors, but the thrust that we have given to infrastructure development, to promoting industry at scale through various initiatives like the production-linked incentive scheme, our industrial parks policy, our engagement of the missions with businesses to bring technologies to India, to invite investment into India, to expand India's trade with other countries. All of this thrust on the increasing role of businesses in our international engagement, the thrust on creating infrastructure which is contemporary, world-class, which can help to bring down the cost of logistics in India. All of these measures have helped us earn the trust of our investors. In fact, today India is recognized, and Indians across the world are being recognized also for our contribution to science and to sustainability. And I'm quite sure that this emerging new India opens up the doors to greater engagement with the rest of the world. When we talk of an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-sufficient India, we are not looking at closing our doors or building any curtains around India. We are looking at greater engagement with the world. We are looking at greater engagement with new technologies, with innovation, with investments, with new products, meeting the needs of 1 billion people. We'll need to produce more steel. We'll need to produce more cement. We'll need to make more medical devices. We'll need to become, we are already considered the pharmacy of the world, but we'll need to expand so that we can make medicines and other pharmaceutical products available for the whole world at affordable prices. Textiles, leather, footwear, dairy, agricultural produce, processed foods, sectors where India has huge competitive and comparative advantages, where we are looking to open the doors for other markets, get greater access. But as I've often said in my engagement with industry, when we want markets to open up for India, we will have to also show a big heart and open up markets for other products from other countries to come to India and engage with the world through transparent, honest business practices. Unlike some countries which work on non-market principles or non-transparent economies. And that is what the world recognizes and respects about India. That is what the world is eager to engage with India for. That is why the world today is looking at India as a valuable partner in their global resilient supply chains. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is being reflected in the interests that many parts of the world are showing in India. In fact, the Dubai Expo, where our India pavilion showcases both India's rich past, the work we have done over the last few years to transform the way we think and work in India, the changing mindset of India, the presence, way of thinking and working in India, and our ambitions of the future. All three shown at the Dubai Expo have clearly found the fancy of the world. We have the largest footprint of any pavilion from the visitors who are coming to Dubai Expo. And the first 45 days have clearly reflected the global curiosity to explore the tremendous potential of the new India that is emerging today. India is and will continue to be a land of ideas, a land of innovation and disruption. After all, we did not cry or we did not show weakness when COVID-19 came in and we had to prepare the nation, on the one hand, to face the pandemic, on the other hand, to find solutions, and have been successful on both scores. Very few countries in the world today can boast of the kind of scientific discovery that India was able to do in a short span of time. And I can tell you, it has been possible because you have a decisive leader committed only to the welfare of 1 billion plus people, for whom every single citizen of India, 135 crore Indians, matter individually and collectively, for whom the pride of India matters beyond anything else, for whom the well-being of the last man at the bottom of the pyramid, who's been deprived of all that progress that the world has seen, is at the center, at the core of his work. And I think that leader, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, has clearly demonstrated that India can and India will become a superpower, will become a country with which every part of the world will want to engage, will become a trusted partner of countries across the world. And in no measure, that is reflected in the growing interest that many parts of the developed world, particularly democratic world, are showing when they want to engage with India, when they want to deepen and expand their engagement with India. In fact, my ministry is completely stressed out. Never before would India have been working on so many economic engagements and free trade agreements with so many parts of the world, with differing economic situations and differing possibilities as we are today. Ladies and gentlemen, whether it's the intellectual property, whether it's our startup ecosystem, whether it's the markets for newer non-traditional products that India is now entering in a big way, case in point, technical textiles or man-made fibers, Ayush products, the non-traditional medicines. I think the Honorable Prime Minister's mantra of reform, perform, and transform is inspiring the new generation of Indians to look beyond the past, to and undoubtedly, more than 71 unicorns in the country, more than half of them becoming unicorns in the COVID period, are a living testimony to the growing relevance of India when it comes to rebuilding economies and engaging with the rest of the world, both with our self-confidence and from a position of strength. Many statistics have been shared by earlier speakers before me, statistics on how exports have bounced to never before levels. We'll have a record export this year of $400 billion, and month on month we are well on track for that. We've seen record FDI for 7 years in a row, beating each year's record. Current year will be no different. We'll see another big record and a jump in FDI in the current year despite the COVID pandemic. Jobs are being created like never before. Naukri.com and other indices are showing huge uptick. PMI in services, PMI on manufacturing, all indices are pointing towards a resurgent India, towards an India that's showing both organic growth and is seeing a lot of activity in investment coming into the country in different sectors, both for organic and inorganic investments or industry investments. We are seeing brand India being recognized in different parts of the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, India is on the move, and it's up to us. As they say, ya to bhag lo, ya bhag lo. And for our guests from foreign embassies or foreign companies, what I've said is, bhag lo, that is participate in this India on the move, or your choice is to run away. Bhaglo, another way of using that same word, is you can run away from the situation. But I would like to invite all of you, your countries, your businessmen, and our own Indian businessmen, our young entrepreneurs, our young boys and girls, our talent that is in abundance in India. Bhago mat, don't run away. Participate, bhaglo. And when you participate, again, make big, hairy, audacious goals. B-H-A-G, bhag. भागो मत, भागो और बहुत बड़े रूप में, बहुत बड़ी कल्पना लेके, बड़े उद्देश्य लेके, बड़े टारगेट्स लेके, बड़े रूप में भारत के भविष्य में अपनी योगदान दो, contribute to a better and brighter future of India. There is global optimism about India. We have to capitalize on that. It's our chance of a lifetime. Let's participate. Let's contribute. Let's go for it, ladies and gentlemen. India's time has come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thanks for that very motivating, very spirited address that you have given to this summit. We look forward to working again very closely with you for us to realize those goals that you have set. Yes, they are ambitious, but yes, as you said, we will. With your permission, maybe have a couple of minutes of questions. May I have Mr. Shriram ask the first question, please, yeah?
Thank you, CB. Minister, thank you so much for sharing your vision and the inspiration which you give all of us when you talk about the future of India, the growth of India, and the potential of India. I think that is absolutely remarkable. As industrialist, I can say that our optimism on the future of India is very high. And I think the way we are seeing changes happening in policy, in ease of doing business, and many areas is moving really well. I'd like to just pick on one point which you mentioned in speech, which is so crucial, which is innovation, and rightly so. And this observation also that the number of Indians all over the world who are heading companies or research institutes, etc., is so high. What is your feeling, or what can we do more to push the innovation front by either, let's have seminars, invite them to India? What role can we play as industry? Should we have a sort of 6 different, but now the movement is starting, by God's grace, COVID should be under control, hopefully. In 3 months, 6 months, we can start moving again. And I think that is and Indians are good at it. There's no two ways on that. So 2 things. One, what can we do to give this a bigger push, which is required, and what role can industry play? And second is, internationally, where a lot of innovation also happens is in very good universities and educational institutions. Can we get some of those in India, and what can we do for that? So the question.
Absolutely. It's an absolutely wonderful point you have made. I think innovation at one point of time, research and development was being encouraged by some tax op and stuff like that. When Honorable Prime Minister had 2 choices, whether to again continue to give benefits under small windows or give a macro benefit, so for everybody we have a simplified system. We chose the latter. So we brought down income tax rates to 25% for everybody, and for new businesses, 17%. Our idea was that instead of all the time struggling with trying to prove this is R&D cost, not R&D cost, this, that, we focused on bringing the rate only to such low levels that everybody is interested to invest in India. So I would urge that industry should now focus more on moving the needle beyond that old thinking. I'm saying it because I know that's back of the mind of everybody all the time. Can we get some more benefit for R&D? I think the rates have become so competitive, and that's the least we can contribute to an economy. So that's one point. Second, innovation is not a compulsion. Innovation is not something we are doing a favor to anybody. Innovation is really something that's going to help you make more money. It's going to help each one of our businesses grow, expand, capture new markets, come up with new products. I would say even a person like Anshuman running a real estate advisory service, if he doesn't come up with new ideas, if he doesn't come up with new type of products, if he doesn't come up with new ways of doing business, he will not be able to flourish or grow his business. It goes to that level. Even government, I don't come up with newer ideas or new ways of working. If CII doesn't evolve quickly into virtual mode when the time required it, now into hybrid and hopefully soon into getting us all back in the room to work together physically. So what I'm just trying to say is innovation it's an imperative. There's no choice. It's not that somebody will have to tell you. And vaccine is a case in point. I'm told Pfizer and Moderna, two companies, and I have nothing against them by the way, would be making nearly $94 billion out of only the vaccine sales in a year. That's from their filing, somebody took it out and gave it to me. If I'm wrong, kindly pardon me. I'm relying on secondary data, what somebody shared with me. Now look at the potential that opens up for a country where we'll soon be having 6 vaccines being made. And with a 5 billion target next year of production. Where else in the world, ladies and gentlemen, you have a prime minister monitoring research and development in a sector like we did in vaccines. He would personally visit factories, interact with scientists, not owners, scientists who are doing it, support them financially, morally, enthuse them, put more spirit into their work. And that's what each one of us leaders in our own right, in our businesses. I mean, LED is a case in point. If country hadn't thought differently, the world today couldn't have moved into LED. In every country where I go, very often ministers from that country thank me that thanks to Prime Minister Modi's initiative of changing India to a completely LED world, the whole world's LED bulb prices have fallen by 80%. In India, it fell by 85%. But thanks to India, the scale we got, we started selling, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are not aware, from a point where India used to sell 600,000 LED bulbs in a year, 8 years ago. In a short span of 3 or 4 years, we were selling 600,000 bulbs every single day. Every day, what we were selling earlier in a year, in barely 3 or 4 years. Every contract used to be 30, 50 million bulbs. We saved our Indian consumers in their electricity bills $7 billion a year. And consistently they are saving now permanently. I remember a large company CEO, in one of my meetings, I said, why are you not shifted to LED? He said, oh, we have plans. In the next 2 years, it will be full LED. I said, what the hell are you saying? You should be shifting it in 3 months. The payback is only 3 months. And then he went, got it re-examined. On my word, he did it. It took 3 or 4 months to do it. And then he said in 4 months, I think, his entire investment in factories, and they have factories pan-India, offices, homes, the entire investment is paid back in 4 months. Why? We thought differently as a nation. Innovation in every sphere, in industry, all your products, they'll get outdated if we don't innovate. And India has the talent. So let's all of us go for innovation. We will be a facilitator in whatever way we can. As far as academic partnerships are concerned, look at the new education policy. It's path-breaking. It's inviting partnerships between international educational institutes and India. All of you, many of you have studied abroad in some of the best colleges and universities. Get your alma mater there to partner with your alma mater here. And imagine what possibilities. Our IITs are the best in the world. Our IIMs are the best in the world. your and my children have probably I've spent $1 million paying tuition, right? Hopefully others or the next generation won't have to do that. They'll get better education many times over in India at very affordable prices. And I think these partnerships on innovation also will help the world innovate at more competitive prices. So then maybe in the future, a new cancer drug or a new TB drug or even a vaccine will not cost the kind of money it costs the Western world today. And then not only will Indians, but the whole world benefit from India's innovation, as we hope to do in vaccines.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Actually, you know, the questions to you pan many areas, many areas, because once we had to increase the welcome remarks of the person by 30 seconds or more because one had to read out your full designation. So sorry for so many areas of comments. But I'll really go to the floor and maybe open it up to first to the international community. The High Commissioner, Excellency, from New Zealand, Excellency David Pine, would you like to go ahead first, please? Yeah, there's the mic for you.
Thank you very much, and Dhanyavad, Minister. That was a very interesting speech, and you know, India on the move is a good way of putting things, and it's certainly how it looks from our part of the world. And one of the ways that India is changing is we're seeing, as you outlined, a fairly rapid changes in India's attitude towards trade agreements. And it's very encouraging and very interesting, and we'll watch it. But all those trade agreements ultimately sit on global rules and a global institution. And that institution, the World Trade Organization, is under a lot of pressure. I'd be really interested in your views on its relevance going forward and what changes are needed to make it work better.
Thank you very much, Excellency. A very relevant question because we have the MC12 coming up the next couple of weeks from now. Excellency and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the world today has to reassess whether countries across the world are truly and genuinely following global multilateral rules in terms of transparency, in terms of fair play, in terms of honest business practices. And sorry, we in India are proud that we follow the rules to the T. We are proud that everything we do in India is transparent, is honest, is in public domain. So much so that our systems allow, at a small cost of 10 Indian rupees, to take out any paper from government files also. Our RTI, right to information laws, are so strong. Why I'm sharing this with you is, and since you are from New Zealand, and New Zealand was very keen that India should join RCEP, I actually expected that you would probably lead it to RCEP. But when I became Commerce Minister and I went into all the details and files and engaged with industry across the country, I realized that here the deal or the agreement was between two unequals. We are looking at a transparent, honest trading system in India, entering into an agreement with certain geographies where they don't share information. They don't give market access to everybody equitably and openly, where there are hidden subsidies about which I would never be able to act because I don't get the information, where you ask for data, you'll never get the data. Our pharma industry has been trying for 4 years, but not getting market access. And here in India, we open up 100% automatic approval. Anybody can come, invest, buy our companies. So I think the World Trade Organization needs to reassess the way it has been conducting its affairs. And that reform is going to be very significant. But the problem is the developed world immediately starts looking at reform linked with whether SNDT should continue. That is the benefits that less developed countries and the developing world has over the developed countries, or at least the little bit of benefit that's left. Most of it is in any case got dissipated over the years. And I think it's so unfair. I can understand a discussion on which countries should be considered developing and which should now be considered developed. I think the world should be open to a discussion on that. But to deprive countries from certain differentiated treatment in their business practices, when they are at levels of $1,000, $600 to $3,000 per capita income, and putting them on the same benchmark as a country which makes $60,000 or $80,000 per capita, is grossly unfair. So I think the developed world should look at their priorities. We make great noise about sustainable development goals, but are we doing enough to really achieve those goals? Are we doing enough to meet the climate goals? We make big noise at COP26 and other forums about sustainability. But have we done what we promised the developing and less developed world? Did the developed world do enough? Did they meet their obligations? Did they provide technology? Are there solutions which will give the developing world policy space or access to low-cost energy to be able to develop their economies and meet the needs of billions of people who also, in this interconnected world, through television, through internet, see what is happening in other parts of the world. A young boy in a remote village in the interiors of India today also sees Sydney or Brisbane, or I would go to the extent of saying even Dunedin. Does he not have aspirations? Does he not desire to see all those goodies? Does he not, as a human being, have a right to those goodies? And I would request the developed countries to introspect on what they have done for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. I can see one hand being raised for consistently on the virtual media. Somebody who is, again, an Indian, not living in India at this point in time. Abhimanyu Munjal. Would you go ahead, Abhimanyu? Just unmute yourself, please. Yeah. We can't hear you, Abhimanyu.
Yeah, now I wasn't being able to unmute. I am in India as of now, but good evening, Minister, and thank you very much for the time that you've spent today. And it's always very, very energizing to hear you, and especially at these forums. In the beginning, you mentioned that CI has had enough. I can promise you, on behalf of all CI members, that we need many more interactions, because every time we leave an interaction with you, we are extremely excited, extremely willing to do much more than we've done before meeting you. So thank you for that encouragement. Minister, while you mentioned on a lot of stuff, the 3 mantras that we should be doing, we are all aware that the attention of the world is turning towards India. Your attention, our Honorable Prime Minister's attention, is to actually build brand India. So my question is, how can us as industry complement and partner with the government to build that brand India? And industry has new age businesses, MSMEs, large businesses, young people like us. So what is your advice on how do we build that brand India, a force that is not to be reckoned with?
Mr. Munjal, I must at the outset acknowledge that Indian industry, all of you have done a fabulous job, and I articulated a few points in my address also. I mean, the way you helped us prepare for the pandemic, the kind of contribution that all industry gave in supporting the less privileged sections of society, the marginalized section, keeping your workforces intact, safe, the way you all have helped us in our vaccination drive, clearly, you deserve an acknowledgement. I said it that all of you need to take a bow for the wonderful work and your contribution to India and the India growth story. Going forward, there are so many very simple ways. I mean, I can give you 100 ways, but let me stress on only 2 or 3. One, quality. I've been talking about it on many platforms. I've done programs with CII where the whole focus was only on quality. Can we as a nation say that we will be recognized worldwide as a quality supplier of goods and services? so that the world says anything Indian has to be good? Can we sensitize our markets? Can we sensitize and support industry or our other stakeholders, big or small? Small will need a little handholding. Can the large guys like you and Sriramji and all of you take this responsibility of inculcating a spirit of one quality, but world-class quality, the best quality in India? A. B. Skill development. Should we remain dependent on government to do skill development? Or can industry, of course for your own requirement, but also going beyond? So Ajay ji, for example, picks on, let's say Kota, where he has a factory, if I'm not mistaken, and looks at the poorest 100 families in that area. The local people will help him identify. And says, okay, I adopt the children of these poorest 100 families or poorest 1,000 families. I'll prepare them to be good citizens of this country and prepare them in the skill of their choice, determined through vocational understanding of their aptitude. I remember we used to have aptitude tests when I was a student. I don't think my children had to go through aptitude tests. Things have changed. The new education policy brings all this back on the agenda. And I would urge all of you, see what role we can do in upgrading the quality of education. Do we need a country of students who are just looking at a graduation degree, BCom, B.Ed, BA, or who's preparing himself to become a person who can earn a good income? And I tell you, small interventions. You give a 3-month training to all those who are domestic help in our own homes, our offices, wherever, to our MTSs or people who look at office boys and girls. Believe me, 3-4 month training, they'll become worth 50% more than what you're paying them, or anybody's paying them. Hospitality, tourism, huge potential in the country. Can you all participate in that? I know many of you are helping us redevelop iconic sites. Somebody is developing Red Fort. I visited one beautiful monument near Sundar Nursery. I don't know, Kane Khan or something. I'm forgetting the name. It's one of those poets from the Mughal times. His mosque, his tomb has been redone by the Aga Khan Trust. It's a marvel. I'd urge each one of you to see that and draw inspiration what we can do. What we can do to make our tourist spots more welcoming for our visitors. Language skills. Believe me, there's a potential for interpreters alone, which will run into 1 million people in different languages. Literally, a foreign tourist would love to have somebody by his side who becomes like a tourist guide with him as he goes around the country. So he comes to Mumbai, takes somebody with Marathi skills. Flies from there to Goa, takes somebody with Konkani skills. Goes to Chennai, has somebody meet him at the airport and navigate him through his knowledge of Tamil. And imagine how simple and nice it will become for all our visitors, or for that matter within the country. A Tamilian going to Assam would really be benefited if a person familiar with the Assam language can help him navigate and see all the wonderful things that Guwahati and Assam have to offer. So I'm just saying, you can identify this. And in that, there could be a certain element of goodwill, certain element of corporate social responsibility, and a certain element of your own interest, which will be good for your own businesses also. Thank you.
Thank you. One more. Yeah, so I have Clemens von Reyer, the Managing Director of EDAP Production. Yeah, Clemens. Please call production.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister, congratulations for this wonderful, inspiring speech. My name is Clemens von Reyer. I'm representing a German engineering company here in India. We belong to the top 5 of the independent engineering companies for the automotive industries, for example. And let me emphasize, you're right. We were not running away. Since 20 years, we are in India, doing business here in India. So we are training freshers coming from the industries. So they are with us since 20 years. And they are even expert on their levels, telling our German colleagues how to do the job. So that's very interesting. So congratulations for this inspirational speech. congratulations as well for young Indians traveling to Germany. So I'm here with my daughter today. She's attending German embassy school in her last 2 years, and I want her to understand and to listen and to learn. Yeah, but maybe I just continue for the rest of us here. It was very inspirational to see lots of young Indians traveling with us to Germany, doing their masters in Germany, but I find it very important that they will come back as well to India because we need them here as well as a German company. So the question I actually wanted to put up, and I can repeat maybe later, we are looking into more automation and more digitalization in modern industries and modern productions. So the level of automation will rise, more digitalization and software-driven processes will be there in India. So I would be interested to listen to you and as well to you, Mr. Minister. What is the impact?
Just get the question because Minister
Yes,
will also have.
I would like to listen to your thoughts about what is the impact of higher automation and more digitalization in Indian industries in the future, talking about smart industry.
I think it's very closely related to the skill development point that I mentioned. Automation will have to come in. We can't, well, taking a pun again from what you said, we can't run away from the realities of a modern world, of an emerging world full of technologies. We should not fight shy of automation. What we need to do is reskill our people to accept that automation, to work with that automation, and instead of only looking at the loss of jobs that may come because of automation, we should look at expanding the scale that we can do so that as many people get work, but using automation, using better technologies, using better skilled people, we can not only serve the needs of whatever market we are doing today, but expand that manyfold. And there may be certain areas where automation may not be the best thing. For example, handloom. When we wear handloom products, where really automation is not possible. I can do small interventions to improve the quality or the output, but broadly, I will have to allow it to be a manual product because there are people who make a shawl for 365 days, one shawl, and come up with a masterpiece, like a sculptor would or a painter would. So there will always in India or an economy like India be those skilled artisans who will come up with fantastic furniture pieces and stuff like that. But wherever automation is, I mean, I can't make vaccines without automation. I can't make high quality medicines or MRI machines or steel without automation. So there's no great joy or no great sense that I say, no, in order to keep people employed, the loading of iron ore scrap or food grain will continue to be manual because I have to provide a job to those people. I think that type of thinking will have to change, but it can only be done simultaneously with reskilling them and preparing them for a higher paying job. And for that, we require to grow the economy, grow our economies, grow our market intervention or market presence, because ultimately we have 1.3 billion people and we have to provide them work, jobs, higher paying works, increasing incomes, increasing productivity. All of this will be an interplay. And that's craftsmanship, how you weave these things together into a beautiful story. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you so much for pulling out time and being with us. As you rightly said, CII has the confidence and the openness to approach you multiple times frequently because we really get inspiration hearing you share your thoughts and talk with such a positive frame of mind. I think that makes a lot of difference to industry across the board. I think many areas you talked about, I won't go into detail, but I think many areas you talked about, industry is there with you, we will work with you, and CII, as you are aware, is always there to hold hands and take the country forward. Jobs, as you rightly said, just this point you mentioned on Germany. Germany has the largest vocational training system in the world. And I think that's absolutely remarkable. That's something for us to learn from too. But I think there's so much to do in India, and we are there, Minister. Thank you so much once again for sharing time with us and being with us. And thank you, everybody, for coming today, and the press and everyone. Thank you very much.